Hey everybody, it's Murgle, and today we'll be speaking a little bit about Argus, because in 7.3 we'll be venturing the planet, which was once the homeworld of the Eredar race. Now Argus is the homeworld of the Burning Legion, but what was it like before Sargeras arrived? So let's take a look back at the history of the Eredar, and how they became the leaders of the Burning Legion. The Eredar are a very old race, possibly one of the first races in the known universe. They were very gifted in all forms of magic and sought knowledge of all types. They used their abilities to create cities, among which Makari was one. This was the most sacred of all cities to the Eredar, even being named the Jewel of Argus. In patch 7.3, we will be able to visit this location, which is floating far above the ground. Despite all of the time that has passed, it has evaded almost all fell corruption. The Eredar were not necessarily ruled, but they did have leaders which guided their choices. The two leaders who stood were Velen and Kil'jaeden, both of whom loved one another as brothers, even if they were not necessarily related. Velen even goes as far to say as their relationship is so close that they are the opposite halves of one soul. A third ruler would rise to power, but not before showing his devotion to his people. Arjumand, the apprentice of the sorcerer Thekil, follows his master loyally. Anything Thekil asked of Arjumand he did without question. Thekil craved knowledge, like many of the Eredar. Seeking more vast and amazing powers, he used his magics to stretch far into the dark beyond. A creature of immeasurable power finally picked up his presence and spoke to Thekil, offering him wisdom on how to dabble in fell magic. Mesmerized by the power he was shown, Thekil told all of his order, the Wakeners, and within no time they began summoning small but powerful demonic minions. Thekil abandoned all study of the arcane magics, obsessed with this newfound power. Eager to show his amazing gift to the rulers Kil'jaeden and Velen, he met with them. He then conjured many of his old arcane constructs before violently calling down infernals to destroy them. Excited, Thekil assumed the newfound power would be welcomed by his brethren. However, to his dismay, there were no signs of approval. Velen is even angry by the action of the sorcerer, denying him the right to ever summon demons again. Angry, Thekil retreated to his quarters, where he spends weeks without food or sleep, conjuring demons which were his only company for this extended period of time. When finally exiting his chambers, he was bent over, twisted by the dark magic, centuries older than when he had entered. He then states, "The new era begins." He gathered all of his loyal followers, the Wakeners, and began the creation of a fell army bent on usurping the two Eredar leaders. He used spells and wards to hide their actions from even the eyes of the gifted Velen. Everyone followed except for, surprisingly, his apprentice, Arjumand. Despite being loyal to his master at all corners, he wanted to prove to both Kil'jaeden and Velen that he was an asset to their people. He snuck away the day before the assault was to occur, and let both Eredar leaders know of Thekil's plans. Arjumand, having been taught everything by his master, dispersed the wards which were hiding the army. With all the Eredar magi, they were easily able to flank and destroy all of Thekil's minions. He began trying to summon in more demons, but before he had the chance, his head was quickly decapitated by his former apprentice, Arjumand. Then it was all over. The battle was won. The Eredar burned all the writings and bodies of the Wakeners. This was a message to all those on the planet that when dealing with demons, there is no victory. Arjumand received great praise amongst the Eredar and would rise to become the third leader in the Triumvirate. Arjumand also took the skull of Thekil and had it decorated with many precious jewels and metals, where he displayed it proudly in his quarters as a reminder of what happens when you dabble in dark powers you cannot control. However, the materials used to decorate the skull were actually specifically picked for their ability to increase magical capabilities in objects. This worked both ways though, and later the skull would be used to send visions from a being of great power to Arjumand from the dark beyond, which fascinated him beyond measure. Many years would pass before the Eredar would finally be met with a choice which would seal the fate of their people. The powerful titan known as Sargeras was looking for beings to lead his dark army. Despite all of his gift and nearly infinite strength, he was incapable of doing this entirely on his own. He knew of the Eredar race, and using his powers reached out to the planet's denizens. It was not long before he was able to come in contact with the three Eredar leaders, Velen, Arjumand, and Kil'jaeden. Sargeras disguised himself when contacting the great leaders. He presented himself as a generous and benevolent being. He showed them the power he held, which was more than any the Eredar had ever fathomed before. He offered them knowledge and wisdom beyond their wildest imagination, and all he asked in return was their loyalty. He wanted to unite all planets under his glorious order. The Eredar leaders were in awe, save for one. Velen, with his gift of sight, could see the glory that Sargeras offered. He saw his people as one holy army of light, but then the image faded, and all that was before him was death, entire worlds burning. Sargeras offered power, but not for the good that he promised. He wanted to corrupt the Eredar into foul demons bent on destroying all of creation. With his knowledge of what was to come, Velen pleaded with Kil'jaeden and Arjumand, warning the two that it was no gift that Sargeras offered. The two rejected his warning, saying he was merely being delusional. Desperate and alone, Velen prayed to the Atomo crystal for help. The Eredar had always held this artifact of a distant past in high regard, so he pleaded with the Atomo crystal, not knowing what to do. Velen's prayers were shortly answered by a Naru named Quare. He told Velen that what he saw was true, and he needed to flee Argus immediately with anyone who would heed his warning. He was told to go to the highest mountain on the longest day. Velen quickly gathered a following and prepared. As Velen was preparing, it was not long before Arjumand and Kil'jaeden heard of what their partner was planning. They were informed that Velen had sided with their sworn enemy, the Naru. This infuriated Kil'jaeden the most. He loved Velen. How could his brother, of all people, turn on him like this? He sent his empowered army of Man'arai Eredar to kill them all. Velen and his followers had amassed as their enemies closed in. In a final plea of desperation, he raised their precious Atomo crystal to the sky. A light descended upon it, shattering the crystal immediately. A large barrier erupted around him and all of his followers. The Man'arai Eredar were unable to penetrate this barrier. Shortly after, the Genedar, which was a massive ship made of diamond, arrived to pick up Velen and his followers. They then all quickly boarded, in which they were swiftly whisked away into the great beyond. Kil'jaeden, in despair and rage, quickly swore that no matter how long it took, he would find and kill Velen for his betrayal of their people. And so they fled. The Naru spoke with Velen and his people. They told them that from this point on, they would call themselves the Draenei, which means Exiled One, as Eredar would henceforth be associated with the demonic brethren. They would flee for over 25,000 years before they would find a moment's rest from the endless pursuit of the Legion, who destroyed everything in their chase. Eventually, the Naru who powered the ship, Quare, would fall ill, possibly from exhaustion, and the Genedar would crash on a very young world, which the Draenei would eventually go on to name Draenor, which means Exile's Refuge. They would begin to settle in and rest. They had finally found a home where the Legion hadn't found them, at least for some time. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all again real soon. Bye-bye.